And we're back. Hi everyone, welcome to another Wildlife Cake and Cocktails. We've got episode 9 coming at you, another herping podcast. We thought the first one was so much fun, we better do it again. A little bit different this time. We're going frogging. We've got some frog biologists from the University of Queensland. Well, I mean, not just frog biologists, but working on frogs, definitely. So we've got Nicholas Wu and Callum McKercher here with us. Nick, where are we at, man? Whereabouts are we?
We are currently at the Karawatha forest and in front of Elizabeth Street, and we're going to be doing some frogging today.
Nice one, nice one. And we've also got Callum here as well, Callum McKercher, honours student, studying frog sloughing, frog physiology?
Yeah, I'm studying the effect of Chytrid fungus infection on the water balance in green tree frogs.
Okay, and Nick, you're also doing Chytrid fungus.
Chytrid fungus as well, yeah. So the whole aspect of my project is looking at skin shedding in amphibians and how does the fungus affect that process.
Yeah, wonderful. So look, for the people at home who don't know, we're going to be talking a lot more about this while we go. Chytrid fungus is it's a devastating, very virulent fungus, very, very easy to transfer around from waterhole to waterhole, which is why even while we're out here, we're going to have to be taking some precautions. But anyway, we're going to get into that a little bit later. Look, it is Wildlife Cake and Cocktails, so we got to get into it. We do have cake and cocktails. We figured out how to do cake and cocktails in the field. I've got some fantastic housemates. So
awesome.
Look at this. This is our first cocktail. It's a mini cocktail cupcake cocktail. I wasn't sure what we're going to call it. But anyway, this is a mojito cupcake cocktail.
Lovely.
So there's a little bit of lime juice. There's a little bit of
smells good.
A little bit of rum, a little bit of mint, a little bit of creme de menthe in there as well. And we've got a Cosmo flavored one over there with some vodka in it. Not much. We're not getting drunk off these things. It's more for the gimmick.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, look at the icing on that. It's good.
That was real good.
It's like all icing.
All icing.
That is the only way to have a cake, right?
I just noticed that after taking a bite.
Yeah, there is no icing. It's just a cheesecake.
Oh my gosh. It's really rich.
It's like a mojito cheesecake.
Nice.
Who
made this?
This was made with the aid of one of my housemates,
True.
Donna. And dude, I'm gonna have to figure this out again. We're gonna have to do this more often. All right, guys. We're at Karawatha Forest. Wonderful place, man. Even on the drive over here, you see some of the fauna overpasses. It's got some of the oldest fauna overpasses over that main road that kind of cuts through it in Australia. I think some of the best studied land bridges and rope bridges for wildlife trying to get across the road safely.
Absolutely.
It's about. Oh, we're gonna have to pause here. Okay, guys. So we're at Karawatha Forest. Even on the drive up, you see some really nice land bridges and rope bridges for fauna to get from one side of that, Compton Road that cuts through from one side of that patch of bushland to the other.
Yep.
Some of the oldest fauna crossings in Australia, and most studied as well. And good to have here. Look, Karawatha is a fantastic little forest. About 1,000 hectares of dry sclerophyll, that's a eucalypt forest, open woodland, native heathland understories. A lot of creek lines and billabongs and marshes. We're going to Froggy Hollow.
That's right.
With
Hollow.
Frog Hollow. Okay, Frog Hollow. I hear there's some little billabongs and creek lines around there, so that should be fantastic. So look, it was in 1991 that the Karawatha Forest Protection Society was formed, actually in response to public opinion to see the area saved from urban development. The BCC Bushland levy and state government contributions that same year helped to add adjoining lands dedicated by the council to further protect natural corridors and more land added to it through the Bushland levy. It's now managed under the Brisbane City Council under a set of community consult-based management guidelines. It's actually one of the largest patches of remnant bushland in Brisbane. I didn't actually know that until we were studying this. It's only about 30-40 minutes southwest of the CBD. A lot of lovely infertile soils and sandstones, some formed by Triassic-Jurassic era mountain building and erosion. Despite all that, about 320 plant species, over 320. Some of the last remaining wet heathlands and Melaleuca wetlands in Brisbane. Over 200 animal species, including powerful owls, greater gliders, and the highest frog diversity of anywhere in Brisbane, including green-thighed tree frogs, that's Litoria brevispalmata, threatened on the IUCN Red List, and the Wallam toadlet, Crenia tinula, one of the groups of acid frogs. Which is a fantastic name, acid frog, but it's actually because they breed in low pH.
So the pH in Wallam is about 3.5 to around 3, so it's very acidic environment. And these guys can be able to breed there, lay eggs there, and the tadpoles can develop actually quite normally there compared to other species. So,
which is phenomenal because frogs are generally, they're very environmentally sensitive. So to have something that can live in such a acidic environment, it actually ends up being a really good bioindicator, because if that pH balance in the Wallam gets modified by disturbance, you're going to have a quick response in those frogs. Look, anyway, the area here that we're in, it's the tribal lands of the Yugara people, the traditional custodians of much of Brisbane. Popular place here at Karawatha for Indigenous people to hunt and fish back in the day, with diverse flora and fauna, rocky sheltering caves, and the productive Half Moon Lagoon system, previously managed by fire stick farming until white settlement. So here we are, guys. Why do we go frogging?
Why should we go frogging? Because, of course, frogs are amazing.
They're adorable.
They are one of the best indicators for ecosystem health. So the more frogs that you can hear in the ecosystem that you're in, the better the health in general, right? And they're really good at looking after the land as well. So in terms of controlling insect populations, so the more frogs you have, the more less mosquitoes in that case.
Wonderful. Yeah. And look, of course, they're just adorable. I love frogs.
Yeah,
they're cute. Then it's not like we're going looking for large venomous snakes where you got to be on your toes a little bit. Although we're all herpers. There is a good chance we're going to find other things other than just frogs tonight. Yeah. But look, and so much variety and in frogs as well. And I guess secondly, it's that as we all know, they're amphibians. That bizarre metamorphosis stage that they go through, going from a gilled water-breathing larvae through a metamorphosis into an air-breathing, lunged adult.
Well, that's kind of what makes them such good ecosystem indicators, is they do have that water-dependent life stage as a tadpole, where you get that snapshot, but also they become terrestrial later on in their lives, and you get this kind of dual image of what's happening on the land as well as in the water.
So
and it's also
ecosystem health from the water environment and also on land as well.
Yeah. And I guess during that metamorphosis, there's a lot of things that can go chemically wrong. So
when they're developing from tadpoles to adults, they go through metamorphosis, and at that phase they have to rearrange their whole body, so remodify their whole body, in that case their immune system as well. So the immune system has to be down regulated in order for it to develop into a fully grown adult. So transition from gills to lungs, from a herbivorous diet into a carnivorous diet as well. All of those have to be modified, and it's a very complicated process that happens as well.
So very, very sensitive then to environmental disturbances.
Exactly. At that period, they are the most sensitive.
Wonderful. Okay, guys, I think we better hit the road. We're right here next to the Girl Guides camp. I think there's going to be a few more cars coming in.
Yeah.
Let's get on the track, and we'll see what we can find. Guys, we'll turn the recorder back on once we're on the track. We'll join you shortly. Cheers. We'll get to it.
Cheers.
Okay, guys, frogging tips. I guess firstly, location. You got to be looking somewhere foresty with water, but it's been, we've had about 200 mil of rain, about 100 mil of rain the last 2 weekends running. So they're going to be out and breeding. The creek's going to be full, correct?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, after the rains, there's going to be a lot of frogs out calling, trying to find a mate.
Oh, here we go. Well, look, there's obviously a lot of cane toads around.
Oh, cane toads.
Yeah, there's going to be plenty of them.
Oh, mate. Not going to be fun.
No. But look, it's a good start, to see that the...
It's an amphibian, I
suppose.
It's an amphibian. We've already successfully herped.
Yeah. Well, we need a native species, right?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we're not going home without something, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I guess time to go frogging is generally evening, right? Is there a better time of night to go looking, do you know?
Better time of night? I mean, immediately after the rain, when it's slightly warmish, around 25 degrees, you'll probably find a lot of frogs around. And the peak season is around the wet season. So December, January, February, that's when you get most of the frogs breeding.
Yeah, okay. Cool. And look, standard safety. Let people know where you are. Shoes, torches, first aid if you need it. Always handy to have along. Now, hygiene. Very important when it comes to working with frogs. Even professionally, there is guidelines for fauna managers about how you handle and bag frogs, particularly moving things from one waterhole to another. It's basically to be avoided as much as possible. And why? Well, as we mentioned, chytridomycosis. So let me get this right. Batrachochytrium dendrobatitis.
Yes, so Batrachochytrium dendrobatitis. I've said that so many times for my PhD, so it's kind of natural. We just call it BD.
BD.
As for short.
Or Chytrid fungus.
Yes, Chytrid fungus.
Chytrid fungus. Now, this was basically first detected in 1992. Oh, what do you got?
Wallaby.
Wallaby.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Look at him go.
There we are.
Nice.
Lovely.
Yeah, so you get a few native mammal faunas around as well. I mean, this is National Park, of course.
And a really nice one, obviously. Very, very big open woodland area that we're heading in as we're heading towards Froggy Hollow. Yeah, so Chytrid fungus, first detected in Mount Glorious in 1992 with some mass die-offs and 4 species extinctions for frogs since the 1990s, including the Mount Glorious and the sharp-snouted day frogs, Taudactylus diurnus and T. acuta rostris, and since implicated elsewhere in declines in the corroboree frog. And is there something in the Panama declines in?
I think it's the Panama golden frog. I think it is.
Right. Okay.
I think years ago, I was watching David Attenborough's Life in Cold Blood, and he was the end segment of his show actually showed the researchers taking in some of the last wild populations.
Oh god.
Just due to the spread of Chytrid fungus.
That's heartbreaking.
That's right. So they're officially extinct in the wild, but there are still certain captive ones that are currently being bred and relocated back into the wild where there is no Chytrid found.
Okay. And there's areas in Panama that they're surveying and not finding Chytrid in the populations as well? Or?
No, because Panama is one of the first areas that Chytrid was detected in and where one of the mass die-offs occurred. So Australia and Panama is where the hotspots are for Chytrid declines.
Okay.
Unfortunately. So Panama is one of the big places where Chytrid is being
just
affected.
everywhere, is it?
Yeah, that's right. It's everywhere where there's frogs.
Okay. Well, that sucks to hear. Well, I mean, that's why you guys are doing your research, right? Is to figure out how Chytrid affects sloughing and shedding physiology for both saltwater and freshwater.
Yep. And so the thing about Chytrid is that there's a lot of studies done on the ecology and the epidemiology of Chytrid. So where Chytrid is found, where it originated from, what populations it's affecting, but the very basics of the animal's physiology. So how it's actually killing off the animals, it's still relatively unknown. We know that they have less salt in their body, and that kind of correlates with cardiac arrest, so heart attack essentially.
Yeah, right.
But you know, cardiac arrest can mean anything. You know, everyone dies from cardiac arrest eventually. Is it actually from the salt loss that happens?
Yeah, or is there some other?
Or is there some other factor as well? Maybe some toxins that the Chytrid fungus is releasing.
Yeah.
Is it affecting any other organs as well?
Yeah.
So,
Sodium ion channels, perhaps.
exactly, that's right. And what my study has found is that they do affect the sodium ion channels, but when they shed off their skin, that process seems to be reversed. So it's like a temporary relief for them.
Okay.
But of course, it's not indefinite. Once that shedding finishes off, then they basically go back down to low sodium levels.
Okay. Is there sloughing and shedding seen in response to Chytrid?
Okay, so sloughing occurs naturally. So all animals shed their skin, essentially, even us humans. But we tend to shed it off in little flakes and pieces compared to other animals like snakes and frogs as well. So frogs also do that as well. And it's a typical response that happens to renew the skin, because the skin is the first thing that gets in contact with the environment. So if your skin is damaged in some way, you have to kind of replace it, renew it, and rejuvenate it, essentially. And so that's a normal process of it as well. But at the same time, when you're replacing the skin, you have a fresh new layer where microbes can attach to, so you can regulate what microbes are on your skin. And in one case, you can also regulate the amount of Chytrid fungus on your skin as well. And so what our study has shown is that the Chytrid fungus itself tends to increase the rate of skin shedding. And so in that fashion, they will tend to remove the fungus quicker.
Right.
But it's not indefinite, because there are susceptible species and less susceptible. Okay. And the ones that can get rid of the fungus quicker are less susceptible. Okay. But the susceptible ones, they seem to can't get rid of the fungus quick enough, and so it reestablishes itself too soon. And so that's where one of the problems occur. You can tell the difference between a species that can get rid of the fungus and one that can't get rid of it as easily.
Yeah, wow. So they up their rate of sloughing just to try to get rid of it, but not always successful.
No, not for every species.
Okay.
It is species dependent.
Fascinating.
Yes.
All right. Well, look, still a lot of cane toads on the road.
Yeah, unfortunately.
No
but
worries.
we are not very close to a water source. It's still quite a dry patch of area.
Yeah.
And so only the hardy species can kind of hop around here,
All right.
like cane toads.
Okay, there's Wallam Track and 700 metres to Frog Hollow on the
On the left-hand side.
That's left, cool. On the left. Okay, and we go. So Callum, you're working on shedding as well, sloughing as well,
Yeah.
but from a slightly different angle.
Yeah, so sloughing is really only one small part of my what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
So
Tell you what, the amount of blue eye shine showing us spiders right now.
Yeah. I hate to be an arachnophobe, huh?
Yeah. Walking
Yeah.
through the forest, you just see these blue little gems where the arachnid eyes are shining. Sorry, man. You go.
No worries. So I'm looking at the effect of Chytrid fungus infection on the water balance in amphibians.
Okay.
So we generally find that they are dehydrated when they're infected, and a study done by the lab has shown they have a dramatic increase in the amount of water evaporating off their skin.
Right. And frogs, obviously, with that semi-permeable skin.
Yep.
It's going to be a problem if there's going to be any modifications or damage or...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so there have also been some studies hinting at an inability for the frogs to take up water as well.
Right.
So frogs actually don't drink from their mouths at all. They take up the majority of their water through their skin in an area between their back legs known as the pelvic patch.
Right. I thought it was across the whole skin membrane.
It is all permeable, but this place is especially, it's like a hot spot.
It's what it's
So-
specially
yeah,
adapted
Wet
for.
spot, you mean.
A wet spot. Terminology. Fun with words.
So in this spot, we I expect to see like a concentration of water transporters.
Okay.
So
Something onto our right. Oh, Mr. Small Mammal.
Yeah,
bouncing
I saw
off.
the
Did you see it on
eye
the...
shine. There we go. Can you see it? It moved.
So we've spotted something right off to our right side. We're having a look in through some small eucalyptus and some tussocky grass. What did it look like?
It looked like a small mammal, maybe Antechinus.
Maybe
Oh,
antechinus?
that small? Yeah, kind
Yeah,
of
that
is.
small, climbing across this fallen branch in front of us right
Oh
here.
wow. Okay.
Did you see?
No, I missed it. I
quite
missed it
low.
completely.
Definitely would have disappeared by now.
I saw it out the corner of my... It was rather close. It's probably only like 3 meters away from us.
So maybe 10-15 centimeters long, small fuzzy grey thing.
Yeah.
There's going to be plenty of them. All right.
All right.
There we
let's
go.
keep going.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see some snake food out as well. How many of these small mammals are aneurophagus, eaters of frogs? There's going to be a few, I imagine. Some of the dunnarts and things are pretty generalist.
I
aren't they?
imagine anything that they can get their hands on. If
Yeah.
it's if they can catch a frog, they'll eat it, right, Nikki? Or
That's right, yeah. So I guess there's a lot of Australian fauna that kind of eat a lot of frogs. Yeah, exactly, that's right. I definitely know monitor lizards enjoy a good frog here and there.
And so
But
do a lot of
mammals,
snakes, yeah.
Exactly, that's right, yeah. Oh, definitely snakes. They're probably the most abundant animals that will tend to eat frogs. And some will specialize on frogs as well. Certain, certain leopards? I don't remember their names exactly, but they do primarily feed on amphibians.
Well, there's some areas where common tree snakes are pretty much 80% lizard eaters and
Yep,
lizard
that's
and
right.
frog eaters, isn't it?
Yep. From what I remember, was it eastern brown snakes? The juvenile stage, they tend to switch their diets as well.
Yep. I
From
think they're pretty lizard specialised and then move into mammals.
That's right. Yeah.
Is
I
that
think
right?
lizard and amphibians.
Lizard and
yeah. That's right.
And it's when they grow older that they get that. There's a bit of an ontogenetic shift in their venom.
Ah, yes, you've done your research. That's right,
Well,
yeah.
we spoke about this paper, I think, with Scott Iver.
Ah, okay, yeah. So some of the researchers at UQ are looking into this as well, different species and their ontogenetic shifts in venom profiles. And so some toxins tend to be more suited towards ectothermic based organisms compared to endotherms,
Yeah.
such as mammals. And then they switch around depending on their age and their size.
Yeah, right. So as eastern brown snakes get bigger and they start focusing more on mammal prey, their venom is also switches to attack the blood more and produce that venom-induced consumption coagulopathy effects and give you just horrible hemorrhaging and
That's right. So it's
Fun times.
more of a blood clotting.
exactly. Yeah.
Type of venom.
times.
Yeah. No, well, not for the mammal.
Yeah. No.
Well, not for us as well.
Hey, well, look. Let's bring it back to frogs.
Yeah, of course.
So here in Brisbane, look, we've got a whole bunch of frog species, but the Hyelidae, the tree frogs, are probably one of the more common?
They're the most easily seen because they're considered true tree frogs, and they're found all over the forest canopy and along our eye level, what we can see, compared to some of the terrestrial frogs.
Yeah, it walks right into a spider web.
There's going to be plenty of that.
Far out. Can you see it on me?
Oh wow, okay.
Where's the spider?
Yeah.
There.
No,
Oh, that's just a leaf. It's probably crawling in my hair.
Hold on, let's have a look.
Is it
I
on
don't
me?
see any.
The only spider we have to worry about is the one without the spider in it anymore.
I don't see it. Yeah.
So hopefully you accidentally ate it.
Accidentally? Good source of protein.
Wet beast mode on it. That's fantastic.
Well, that's what you get.
So look, there's the Hyelidae, the Litoria are a massive genus, massively diverse.
That's right. Yes.
So they contains everything from green tree frogs, Litoria caerulea, which is very common, to little things like the eastern sedge frog, and the threatened species one of the threatened species that we might find here, the green-thighed frog, Litoria brevipalmata.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Also in the tree frog family of Hyelidae. Hyelidae?
Yep, the holiday.
Hyelidae. It's nice to have somebody correct my pronunciation. Okay, so what was that frog that we could just hear before, guys?
It was potentially Litoria phalanx, so they're one of the really common frogs that you'll find all over Brisbane. They're about 10 centimetres, so they're not that big. Actually, not 10 centimetres. Wait, hold on, that's 5 centimetres. I'm thinking about millimetres instead, but yeah, so about 5 centimetres in length, and they're really small animals, but yeah, they hear this high-pitched sound quite often in the background, and that's where you'll find these guys. You probably won't see them as easily because they're that small, and they tend to hide around thick leaf coverage as well.
So that's Litoria phalanx, the eastern sedge frog, correct?
Yeah.
And how does it look? What does it look like?
So it's green. It belongs in the Litoria family, so majority of these guys are green as well. It's it has this kind of clear white underbelly as well, but there's a distinctive stripe mark. I think it's a yellowish stripe mark along its eyelid or just above its mouth. And so that distinguishes it from like a baby green tree frog, which is all green essentially.
Right.
I hope you guys at home can hear all those lovely frog calls. There's definitely some in the area. Oop, he's right here in this long bit somewhere, isn't he? Okay, so we've got Nick and Callum very slowly picking their way through some of this long sedge grass. We're approaching Frog Hollow and the frog calls are picking up. There's one calling somewhere about a metre away from us, but long sedge grass makes tiny little frogs hard to find. Even when you're a professional UQ biologist. We got the thumbs up. Okay. Oh, he's right there somewhere in the long grass. So we're going to keep looking and we'll see what we can find. But we are eventually going to keep heading down towards the track. There's going to be plenty more frog action, but we'll see if we can find this little dude wherever he is.
He's a bit scared.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's someone over this way.
Yeah. Shall we try to get a bit closer down to the water, do you think?
Yeah, I reckon closer to the water.
Okay.
Probably have a high density. We'll probably find a whole bunch of species instead of just this particular one.
Okay. Well, at least we're hearing and getting very close to native frogs now. That's a good sign. Well, your guys' opinion? Any idea what that was? No idea.
I'm not so good with the cold.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a bit interesting.
A lot more paperbark, a lot more casuarina, which do grow in these more low nutrient, acidic Wallam areas. So we're getting right into the heart of the Wallam area. I think that's the lake up just down not far from us. Alright, so here we are. We're on the lovely little wooden walking trail. And we're hearing a lot of what are they? The Apariolea?
That's right. No, they're the dusky toadlets.
A dusky toadlet. The genus Apariolea fusca. So there's a lot of those little
they're
toadlets
everywhere.
around, yeah. There's also I know there's Apariolea rugosus.
Rugosus? Yep.
Yeah. Fairly common around the area.
That's right, but they sound a little different.
Okay. Wow, listen to that sound of frog calls. That one was close.
Worth checking out.
Let's pull the water over.
Yeah, so off to our right, I think we can see that long sedge grass now. That proper edge of the lake. So look, the Apariolea are a very, very small frog, like half a centimetre. Also called toadlets, the various species of toadlets or gungans. Tiny, tiny, tiny little things. So, and often... Oh, you've got a crayfish. Out of the water, or? Yeah. So crayfish will actually cross land, especially during times of rain. Let's go have a look.
If you can see him, he's burrowing in here now.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Hey, buddy.
I'm going to take a little photo. It looks like a little, possibly Cherex destructor. Yes, exactly right. Wow, that was it's pretty tough stuff.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Well, look, I mean, this is one of the joys of getting out here and giving this stuff a go. Is, you know, it's not always successful. It is a bit of a throw of your hand. You know, we don't have the perfect conditions, but we just don't see that. We're hearing a lot of frogs, but mostly one species.
That's right, mostly one species, or it's just overpowering some of the other species that we can't hear as easily.
Right. And perhaps it's a little bit dry.
In some areas, I mean, there were some spots that was well inundated.
Yeah.
But even then, it's still not. Oh, cane toad.
Plenty of cane toads.
Yeah, that's right. But probably not for the tree frogs.
Yeah.
I think they do need a bit of rainfall in order for them to call.
Be out and about.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, that just goes to show, you know, you need to know your target species, know your conditions, and you know, we don't always have the luxury of picking when we're free, but sometimes you just gotta give it a go. Either way, it's still nice to just be out here in the forest.
Yeah, it's a nice walk. I mean, 22 degrees, nice temperature.
That's a big cane toad.
Bloody hell, it's all cane toad. Oh,
Monster.
not the biggest I've seen though. There's one the size.
One at Currumbin Wildlife Sanctuary.
Yeah.
They've got one there. Holy cow! That is the biggest one I've ever seen.
Yeah, true.
Football size.
Yeah, he's well fed though.
Yeah.
Well, hey, let's instead of cane toads, let's talk Australian frogs. So we were talking about the hylidae. So there's also the ground frogs, the Australian ground frog genus, the Limnodinastidae. Limnodinastidae.
No dynasties.
Limnodinastes,
Yeah.
Yeah. Some fellow fauna spotters, when they first heard that name, they were just like, "Oh, that's the greatest." Limnodinastes. Fantastic. So that's the ground frogs, and that includes like the striped marsh frog.
They've also got spotted marsh frogs as well. We've got pobblebonks.
The pobblebonk is the Limnodinastid. So the pobblebonk's one of my favourite frogs. Big and colourful. They got these big, beautiful red and yellow markings around the tympanium. Isn't correct?
They're called the scarlet-sided pobblebonk for a reason.
Scarlet-sided pobblebonk. Absolutely gorgeous frog. Fantastic burrower.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Often found.
And reminding us that there's also ornate burrowing frogs as well.
Ornate burrowing frogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. With that sort of cross through the eye. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah.
Cross pupil. Cross iris. Yeah. And we've been hearing a lot of the Myobatrachidae, the myobatrachids. That's the Aperiolaeas, the Pseudophrenes, the Mixophes are in there as well. And these are the toadlets, which are generally smaller, but the Mixophes fasciolatus, the great barred frog, and the whole fasciolatus genus. Mixophes genus. Much bigger than the rest of the myobatrachids. And big active predator, is that correct?
They're big active predators. I mean, they're roughly the similar size to cane toads. It's easily mistaken for cane toads if you don't look carefully enough. But yes, they will feed on anything that can fit into their mouths. Like, they have massive mouths proportionally to the rest of their body, so they can afford to eat even tiny marsupial mammals as well.
Yeah, really, wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, they've got that beautiful barring on their side, and they just have such a sort of intense look. They do look kind of like the tiger, the tiger of large.
Tigers of the amphibian world,
exactly,
right?
Yeah, that's right. Fantastic animals, and their tadpoles are just huge. It's like the size of a 20-cent piece, really.
Right. And one interesting fact about these tadpoles is that they take 2 years to develop, and so they're one of the very few frogs that overwinter twice.
Oh,
actually.
wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I had no idea they took that long to develop, but I guess being such a big tadpole, developmental rates takes more time to build something bigger.
I mean, we don't actually know the reasons why some tadpoles take a really short amount of time to develop compared to other frogs. What's the benefit of that? I guess for some overwintering species, they can afford to hide away from predators, potentially, instead of during that developmental stage where they have to metamorph during the summer, and that's where they're most acceptable to a lot of things, including predators as well. So that could be one potential factor. But again, it's not really well studied and well funded, of course.
Yeah. Always the challenge for funding. Give these people some money. They need money so they can do more frog stuff.
Well, if it's not commercially viable, then quite often it won't get the funding. We'll create the perception that it's financially viable.
Yeah. And look, as we were saying, there is massive value in frogs, both in their insect control capabilities and in the environmental.
Well, not only that, I mean, even some frog species like green tree frogs, they have certain chemical cocktails that are secreted from the glands, and those are potentially pharmacologically active as well, that we can use for
biodiscovery to be done there.
Exactly, that's right, yeah. Okay. And so, because of all these venomous and poisonous creatures that have developed millions of years, they have a whole range of different types of venom and poisons that they have developed. And us humans, we want to develop the best drugs available to treat certain kinds of diseases, and these animals may potentially hold the key to some of these cures.
And of course, same thing with venomous snakes, but I had no idea that there was that much biodiscovery being done with frogs. It makes sense with the amount of chemical warfare that poison arrow frogs or the venomous toads and yeah, right. Very fascinating. All right, guys, I think we're gonna switch off the recorder and keep our hike on. We'll switch it back on if we find anything cool. Cheers. We'll see you down the track. Bye. Okay, I think we found some frogs. We've got Nick and Callum heading out towards all that sound, that wall of sound that you can hear. Let's follow them down.
There it is. There's a big billabong in front of us. There's a big body of water. I can see it.
So you can definitely hear some striped marsh frogs. Shit, just hold on, spider web.
So many spiders.
So the striped marsh frogs are more of a tock sound.
Oh, I think Nick's
got one.
Oh, fantastic.
Oh, wow.
Alright, nice and easy.
Listen to that. Is that not amazing? That's a lot of frogs. Alright, let's see what we can find.
Alright guys, dig in.
I see one. There's a little striped marsh frog that just popped further into there. Oh no, sedge frog. Was it a little sedge?
Little greenie?
Yeah. He just disappeared, but I saw him.
Yeah.
Okay, so There's little Litoria phallax, the little sedge frog. We'll see if we can actually get a photo of the next one. But it's about, you know, about a centimetre long. It's got like a very light green on top of him. Big spiders everywhere. And a little, you know, black stripe along the eye. Let's see if we can find some more and get a photo. Alright, I'm going to put some of this stuff down so I can actually surf properly. Go for it.
Oh, here we go.
What do you got?
Little Litoria phallax right here.
Very nice, Callum. Wonderful. Oh, there we go. Yep, right in the grass
look
there.
at that. So
Beautiful. So he'd be about 1.5, 2 centimetres long?
Yeah, I would pay that.
And that is a eastern sedge frog.
Yep,
Correct?
certainly is.
Very, very common.
So little cuties.
Oh, and there goes my dry sock, no longer dry. And that's totally worth it. I got the wet sock and I got a frog picture. Do you see the big one right in front of him?
Oh,
Callum?
Is that we're not looking at?
No, we're looking at a little green one.
Yeah,
look
see?
look on the top there, Callum.
Yeah.
What is that?
Oh, hello.
That's something else. That's not a sedge frog,
that's
is
the
it?
one I was looking at.
Okay, no. Okay, no.
Look at that. That's beautiful. I got to get a photo of that.
Oh, shit. What do you reckon?
See on top of the grass there?
Mmm.
Kind of I would say that one's probably roughly 5 centimetres, 5-6 centimetres long.
Oh,
probably.
maybe 3, 4.
A bit smaller, yeah.
About 3.
3.5. We'll find a compromise.
Lovely little frog.
Probably about 2.5 centimetres across.
A lot more brownish in colour, this one.
Yeah, brown in colour.
Lovely.
Brown greeny
I
hue.
think it's a...
I do think it's a Litoria. It could be,
No. Really? It looks like it's got the toe discs
yeah?
on him.
So you think it could be a hylid?
Some kind of hylid, I think.
Some kind of hylid frog.
What's a Litoria?
Yeah, definitely. Some kind of hylid. And,
Oh, look at that little greenie there next to him. That's just a...
oh, of course
So,
I'm done.
what's
There you go. Well, we're finding frogs, people. This is fantastic.
This is a much better spot.
What are you hearing there, Nick?
It's almost deafening, isn't
Oh,
it?
I see one calling.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the phallax. And I've got him with his throat puffed up.
Gorgeous.
Where are we looking?
Just in front of me here.
Oh, I see him. Yep,
with
I
his
see him.
little inflated
Yeah,
throat
there we
sac.
go.
So we have a eastern sedge frog, and he was calling, and he'll go again. He's got his little inflated throat sac right there. What's it called again?
It's a buccal cavity.
A buccal cavity, of course. Let's get our terminology right, being professional.
And this one's small, very green in colour.
So again, like
normal size.
yeah, that's about regular for the sedge frog. So the one that was on top was definitely not a Litoria phallax.
It was not.
It was definitely looked like some kind of Litoria.
We will identify it for you later.
Yes, we will figure it out and post all the answers. But wow, there's a lot of these little sedge frogs, obviously in these sedge grasses, calling away right in front of us. And yeah, most of them are pretty similar. Look, there's another one calling right in front of you, Christian. Right there.
Oh, there we go. With it. And another one. Look further in, the browner one.
Yep.
See,
Wow, they're not far from each other at all,
right
are they?
there?
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, wow. Look at that calling action.
Watch out for that spider web there, Nicky.
Whereabouts?
Oh, in front? There should be one. Oh no, I think I'm near him, don't worry.
Oh, we're picking up that call beautifully.
Wow, look at him go.
Another one here. See? Just in that. Oh no, it's just jumped into the grass. But now that we're down here looking, there's a lot of them. They're really abundant.
It takes a bit of time to get your eye in, but once you do...
You've seen a caterpillar.
So I just got a little bit of footage there as well of him calling.
Fantastic.
Wonderful. Let's see what we can find. Well, we're doing well with the sedge frogs now.
Oh, there's so many of them.
Gorgeous little things.
Oh, another one here. Hang on. Get my lamp on. Right there.
Oh, right there.
Yep, another lovely one right there.
And again, look, it does take a bit of time to get your eye in, but this is the joys of herping, because we have just hit...
It's jumped up to here now.
Oh, look at him right there.
Yeah. Right there.
I'll get some good light on him.
Lovely shot.
Another little sedge frog. But there's some other sounds that I'm hearing, guys. What's that pop?
Check this out.
So that'll be
Oh, what have you found,
What's
Nick?
Nick got? It's gonna hop though.
Ooh, what do you got? Oh, there we go. So we got a sedge frog right there, nice and close.
Where should we put him?
little Latoria right?
Let me get a quick... I'll get a quick photo there if you don't mind.
Hopefully he doesn't jump. So when you're ready, let me know and I'll...
Oh, hang on. That's the wrong one.
Yeah.
Okay. And go.
How's the lighting?
Fantastic. That'll do. Oh, beautiful.
Now he doesn't want to come off my hand.
Made a new friend. Oh, there we go.
Well, we'll keep searching. It seems we have found the frog mother lode, people. We're going to keep hunting around, and next interesting species that we find, we'll switch the recording on. But for now, just have a listen to that, everybody. Pretty cool, huh? All right, we're going to find some frogs. We'll talk to you guys soon. Okay, guys. You can hear all these frogs calling around us. Hamish and, Callum and Nick. Callum and Nick are out there on the other side of the pond looking at a few things. We're down on this side. Obviously plenty of sedge frogs, and I've found what looks like to be a male calling at his female. So there's a lovely green frog, little Latoria phalanx. He's only about 2 centimeters long, but there's also a lovely smaller Latoria phalanx in the brown colour phase, not too far. And for now, she hopefully seems to be ignoring the advances. But oh, striped marsh frog! Oh, there's plenty more frogs to be found. All right, we'll go find this striped marsh frog. We'll be with you soon.
So generally the way to tell the difference between male and female frogs, there are a few key indicators. Obviously males generally call a lot more than females, so that's just a display to show how fit and healthy they are. Calling for frogs is actually the most energetically expensive activity they'll do because the muscles are relatively weak compared to all the others. So that's again another indicator of fitness. The louder they can call, the longer they can call, and the shorter breaks between calls indicates how fit they are.
Oh.
Okay, so secondly, we've got something on the frog's forelimbs called nuptial pads, and I guess you can guess what they're for. They're these pads on their hands, on their thumbs, that are used to grasp the female during amplexus and give them a good handhold, so basically the female can't get away too easily, I imagine. Also, there's a fair bit of sexual dimorphism in terms of their size, so generally female frogs will be a fair bit larger than male frogs.
And so, if you can hear in the background at the moment, the majority of the calls are being resonated by Latoria phalanx, and it's hard to distinguish other calls from different species, especially the terrestrial ones, because they have a lower pitch and tend to be a bit more softer. But if you hear this kind of bok, 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 that is the striped marsh frog, so that is distinguishable from other frogs as well. But we'll keep looking and see if we can distinguish some of the more subtle sounds from the Latoria phalanx.
Okay, so we're on the trail of the striped marsh frog, Limnodynastes peronii, is it? Yep. Yeah, okay. So that's the loud popping call, is it? Pop, pop, we're occasionally hearing, as opposed to the creaks and croaks. But yeah, tough to find.
Yeah, I managed to find one before, but
go.
until you guys arrived, he just ran off. He just hopped away.
Oh, we'll keep looking.
Yeah.
All right. Well, man, you can still hear that frog call here. We've kind of taken a bit of a seat. Guys, a lot of sedge frogs.
Indeed.
Tons.
And what else? So there's Latoria phalanx that we're hearing right now. It's basically filling the air. There's that occasional pop of the striped marsh frog as well. So a lot of abundance, not a whole amount of diversity, but I guess that might be due to the conditions.
Yeah, probably too dry. That storm looked really good last night.
It looked fantastic.
It looked like it would have set us up for a fantastic evening of frog hunting tonight, but I think it's just a little too dry between patches of water to really bring out a lot of the amphibians here.
Yeah, right.
Again, especially the tree frogs that require a more moist environment. So some areas that are not well inundated, it's going to be a bit dry, so we won't be able to find as many diversity.
That said, it's incredible how much sound those tiny little, like 1 centimetre long sedge frogs can produce. You get close to them, they kind of hurt your ears.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I'm having a great time. I know we haven't found a lot, and I know you guys would probably like to see a lot more. But I'm happy to just have found some native frogs on our first outing. What else would we hope to be finding here on a really wet day?
On a really wet day? So we've got a whole bunch of different Limno dynasty species that we can find. Again, spotted marsh frogs that are potential that we can find. We've got pobblebunks as well. We've also got a bunch of different Latoria species as well. Green tree frogs are probably the most common ones that you can find as well on a really, really rainy day.
Yep.
What else can we find, Callum?
Perrin's tree frog, I think, has been spotted here. Really lovely eye pattern, if you look that up. It's like a diamond kind of shaped in the pupil there. Really nice frog.
Yeah, cool.
Probably the green-thighed frog would also be a good one around here. And if we were really lucky, not a Latoria species, but a tusked frog.
Oh, wow, yeah, of course.
So vulnerable species in a lot of the legislation. So it would be lovely to find it around here and show this place is in good condition.
And tell us about why it's called the tusked frog.
Well, I think it's the only frog in Australia with 2 small teeth that protrude from its bottom jaw, is it? Yeah.
The bottom jaw, yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic. A frog with teeth in the bottom jaw. Is that not the coolest thing?
It'll give you a bit of a nip.
Yeah.
More so than a typical frog.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Very, very cool. And look, I suppose while we're talking about frogs and all these amazing different species that we have in the area, we should talk about some of the threats that there is to amphibians here in Australia. I mean, look, we've got over 50 species of frogs in Australia's wet subtropics, and 23 of them are species of conservation concern. So, landscape modification, clearing for agriculture and industry, roads, and changing of hydrogeology just with development is always going to be a big issue. Do you guys see a lot of issues from, development and habitat loss in frogs?
For sure, yeah. Well, humans preferentially settle near freshwater sources.
Oh, right, okay.
So we do have a greater chance of interrupting these habitats because they're such important to us.
Yeah.
And also we do happen to settle on areas like, say, next to floodplains and stuff where that inundation is common. But it's also the best land. It's the most fertile land.
It's great for agricultural reasons.
Ah, right, okay.
Absolutely. So I guess it's important to emphasize as well that, in particular, Australian frogs, we have the most abundant native species compared to anywhere else in the world. 96% of all frog species are native to Australia. That's the highest diversity of native frogs. So it's incredibly important that we are able to secure and ensure that the conservation of these frogs is happening because of the amount of diversity that we have here. And the most common threat that is experienced to these frogs is human disturbances. So habitat loss or modifications from the environment itself, pollutants going into the surrounding streams.
Yeah.
But of course there are aspects that are not being influenced by humans. So places that are pristine like national parks, they also have declines happening there as well, especially around the montane regions. So with that, it's most likely the case of climate change and the introduction of new emerging infectious diseases such as chytridiomycosis. And so these are all important factors, threats that are influencing the frogs that we have today.
Right. And do we know a lot about how chytridomycosis is spread?
Yep. Actually, there was a surprising study that found that chytridomycosis, the spores that are produced, they can be airborne during the raining season.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they can even travel without human influences. So originally it was assumed that they travel because of, getting stuck on your shoes, and then you go to the next area and then it gets spread from there, or by other introduced animals as well, like crayfish and fish that can tend to cling onto those organisms as well.
Well, look, as we've even seen tonight, we're seeing crayfish crossing across land from one water body to another. And that was always my understanding as well of chytrid fungus, is like that's why we need to be so careful moving water or frogs from one place to another, or even mud.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I read one paper a few years ago that the spores actually could survive on the toe scales of birds flying from one pond to another.
Wow.
So, again, you've got a vector transporting that from not only from pond to pond locally, but, migratory birds that can travel hundreds of k's
to different continents.
Can spread that quite far, even just in one country. So there are a lot of ways it can be dispersed.
That's incredible.
And so it kind of asked the question then, because of all this potential factor that chytrid can be transported without human influence, why is it so prevalent now? And so that's the question that our lab is looking at, because potentially the virulence, so the ability for the fungus to become more dangerous, could be due to climate change. It could be that the frog's immune system is becoming weaker due to these multiple stresses like extra UV and high temperatures, or maybe the pathogen itself is becoming more virulent.
Right.
And so this is the main research that's happening in our lab at the moment, is looking at how environmental factors is affecting their susceptibility.
Fascinating. Yeah. So look, obviously the Dendrobatrachid fungus genus has been around for a long time.
That's right, yeah.
So you're assuming that there's, I guess we're hoping to try to find what new factors are causing those declines to occur so much more rapidly than they would have before. Exactly. I mean, all native natural populations have diseases, correct?
That's right. But the problem with chytrid is that it's not native here. So our amphibians have not developed a proper adaptive immunity to this fungus as an overall. So in places like South America and China, where museum specimens have been found to contain chytrid up to as early as the 1800s.
Wow.
They seem to be there before amphibian had declined. So they were present, but it seems like the populations or the species in China were
at least healthy.
Yeah, healthy. Yeah, but they're declining these days, again, because potentially of the climate change.
Yeah, climate change or whatever that causative factor that is making the chytrid fungus more
Changes
virulent.
To waterways, potentially pollutants maybe in the water are compromising their immunity. Yeah. There could be a whole list of factors.
Is climate change the main culprit for you guys at the moment, or is that just...
It's the most logical choice, because this is a worldwide disease. And
Absolutely.
What's the most worldwide influencing thing that's changing?
Climate change. Well, it would be hard to say that, globally there's a certain pollutant, like a single pollutant that you could...
Potentially. I mean, phosphorus is one of the more common chemical that's being imported into the streams,
right.
And nitrites as well, certain various phosphorus chemicals.
Sure.
But again, we don't entirely know how much of these interactions is happening, so we're just going for the most obvious one, the most widespread one at the moment, and see how it goes from there, because there are so many labs around the world working on specific questions, and so we want to focus on a particular one for now. There's a whole bunch of questions.
Well, it'd be nice if if we find another reason to stop climate change, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. There's so many reasons,
like we don't have enough.
Exactly.
But,
yeah, it's just adding on.
All right. Well, guys, I think that's probably going to be about it for our first frogging podcast. We're going to slowly walk on back to the car. If we find anything else, we'll probably turn the recorder back on. But I think that's about it for now. Nicholas Wu, thank you so much, man. I hope we can do this again at some point in the future.
My pleasure, absolutely. I love doing this kind of stuff, so, hook me up.
Yep, no worries. And hopefully, I guess, same with you, Callum.
Sure.
Callum McKercher, thank you so much. We'll be waiting for a rain event for you guys to take us out again.
Sure.
Absolutely.
All right, sweet. Guys, thank you so much. Christian, thanks again for joining us out in the field, our producer friend. Always a joy.
No problem, gentlemen.
Guys, my name's Yanni Takola. And I think we're going to try to head home and get out of this mosquito swamp.
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
Well, we have some blood left in our veins.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for having us.
Anytime, guys. All right.
Our pleasure.
Cheers, folks. Thanks for listening. And hopefully in the next couple of weeks we'll have the next episode coming out with, we'll hopefully be talking some mine site rehabilitation, mined land rehab with Kareen Unga. So we'll see how we go with that. Guys, thanks for joining us. There'll be plenty of photos coming up and more herping to happen in the future. Cheers. Have a good one.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.